I scanned the club from the end of the long bar. I saw the table of my wife's coworkers. She wasn't sitting with them. The dance floor was crowded, but you couldn't miss him. He looked like he just stepped out of a Harlequin novel. Long flowing black hair, dark tan, and the top 2 buttons of his black shirt unbuttoned. He must be a gym rat or work construction, as he looked more than just a little fit. I had no doubt he sported a 6-pack or maybe a 12-pack under that tight shirt of his. The worst part about this whole thing was that he was dancing with my wife, Megan, and probably had the entire night. I drained my first and only drink of the night. She wasn't worth getting a DWI on the way home tonight. 5 weeks ago, when she came home from her Friday girls' night out, she woke me up and almost F'd me to death. It shocked the S out of me. It was a surprise. A nice surprise, but still a surprise. "Thanks, I needed that," she said, kissing me one last time as we both tried to catch our breath. "I need a shower, you game?" What was I going to say? No. It was a long shower. We fooled around and more than once I had to tell her to be quiet. I didn't want her waking up the kids in the next room. Back in bed, she cuddled up next to me and immediately went to sleep. I didn't. We'd been married 10 years, and in the last couple of years this was one of only a few times Megan had been the aggressor. Don't get me wrong, she always got into it even when she wasn't in the mood, but I could count on one hand the number of times she'd initiated love-making lately. And the worst part about it tonight, I don't even think she was drunk. She'd made those advances while she was sober. I spent the next hour looking at the dark ceiling wondering what the hell happened tonight that had gotten her so worked up. I came down to a noisy breakfast. My 2 boys were arguing about something and Megan was frying up bacon and eggs. "Any coffee?" I asked. "Just made it, help yourself." I poured a cup and sat down at the table. I watched her as my boys went on arguing with each other. "How do I bring up last night?" "You have fun last night?" She turned around and looked at me. "I mean before you came home?" I smiled at her. "Yes, I did. They had a new band and I danced my feet off. I even had a 3rd glass of wine." I saw a wicked grin wash across her face. "Like the way I kissed you goodnight when I got home?" "Hated it. I think you should try it again tonight to see if you can get it right this time. If not, we'll just have to keep trying every night until you do." Now she was the one smiling. Men. Give them a taste and they expect it all the time. Not all the time, but 3 to 4 nights a week would be nice. With our work schedules? Be happy with what you're getting. Maybe we'll sneak in another session after we go grocery shopping today. That is if you're good. "Oh, I'll be good, you can count on that," I said, walking towards her. "Back off, bucko. If I burn breakfast it'll be your fault. Sit back down, drink your coffee and settle your 2 boys down." "Yes, my love." And I meant every word of that. She was my love and her and my 2 boys were my life. We did make love when we got back that afternoon. It was behind locked doors as the boys played video games on the living room floor. It wasn't as wild as last night, but she did need to muffle her screams of joy with a pillow. We hadn't done that in I don't remember how long. I was walking on air. When it happened the following 2 Friday nights, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Then it stopped. That Friday night I heard the garage door open and then close. I lay there, faking sleep, waiting for her to come upstairs. She didn't. She undressed, took a shower and slipped in bed next to me. I didn't even get a goodnight kiss. Only silence. Crap. I was primed. I watched her the following morning. She acted normal, but I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen in almost 12 years, uncertainty. While dating we hit a rough patch. I wanted to take it to the final step and she kept putting me off. In her eyes it was like stepping off a cliff. I knew she was AV and I told her hundreds of times I loved her and that I wanted to marry her, but it didn't seem to make any difference to her. She was calling the shots. "Rick, I know you love me and all, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. Once I take that final step, there is no going back. I need to be sure." 3 weeks later it happened. We were watching a movie in my apartment and cuddling on my sofa. Neither one of us had anything to drink that night. She calmly grabbed the remote and turned off the movie. Without a word she grabbed my hand and led me back to my bedroom. "You sure about this?" She didn't answer. She just kissed me. Clothes disappeared and for the next hour I did my best to make her first time memorable. Then she pulled me up to her face. "Steve, make love to me." After that we did it every time we went out. When Megan went on the pill, it made it that much better not having to worry about her getting pregnant. 6 months later I proposed. She said yes and moved in with me. Both parents didn't like the idea of us living in sin, so 3 months later we got married. I wanted to wait a year so we could have a big wedding and an extended honeymoon, but Megan was satisfied with what we eventually had. Truthfully, I think she was just happy to get everyone off our asses. Over the next year we tried it all. Megan had absolutely no sexual hang-ups and wanted to try everything. I was experienced but had never tried and few other things she brought up after coming home after a girls' night out. Is that all you girls do is talk about it and compare husbands? I asked one night. You guys are the ones who are insecure when it comes to your sexuality. We can have a lot of fun with it and no, it's not going to replace you. She was smiling, thank God. Our collection of toys grew and 6 months later Megan came home with a film. That didn't necessarily surprise me but the subject matter did, big you know what. I hated. Megan's eyes were riveted to what was happening on the screen. Then she pulled out her thing and started working as we watched. I'd had enough. I left. I spent the next couple of hours wondering what Megan was going to come up with next and if I was on the way out. I thought I was satisfying her in bed, but now I wasn't so sure. My head didn't clear and I realized I wasn't comfortable with where certain aspects of our life was going. I wanted to make tender love to my wife. I got home just after midnight. Where in the hell have you been? I'd been worried sick and couldn't reach you because you left your damn cell phone on the counter. I'd done that on purpose. You finish watching your movie yet? If not, I can come back when you're done. Thankfully she caught the sarcasm in my voice. I stopped watching it when you left. Are you that insecure about your size? I gave her an ugly look. Okay, I was curious, all right. I wanted to see what Anne was talking about when she said about her husband. So now you're comparing me to every one of your girlfriend's husbands? Maybe I don't want all your friends to know what I have. Please Steve, I know you guys talk about us when you're together. Yeah we do, but not about all this. We tell each other what our wives can be sometimes and how they tell us what we can and can't do. I've never asked any on my friends how their wife is. The only things we do talk about are the girls we see at the clubs or in the malls and wonder how they'd be in bed. Well, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. It won't happen again. She lied. She did. The next one she brought home had guys doing it. As soon as I saw what was on it, I popped it out of the DVD player, opened up our apartment window and tossed it out. Hey! She screamed looking out the window. You go down there and find that DVD. It's on my credit card. You want it, you find it. I'm going to bed. There was no tenderness that night. I can't believe I'm married to a guy who's insecure about who he is. I'm not trying to replace you with someone. Understand? I'm just curious about what's out there. Rick, I've never been with anyone but you. Hell, until you I'd only seen about 7 or so and those were at male review nights. You can imagine how big those guys were. Megan, what's next, swinging? You want to F one of my friends or watch me with one of your girlfriends? Megan, your fascinations are starting to scare the hell out of me. Just so we're clear, I don't share. Rick, relax. Maybe I'm trying to learn about everything too fast. I want to please you and I want to experience all the kinky things I've heard or read about with you. You're my husband, if I can't discuss this with you, who can I talk about it with? She had a good point. Then, we do this together and if one of us gets uncomfortable we back off. Understood? It was a wild ride. The next 2 years was great. Our life was off the charts and then something came up that spoiled it all. Megan got pregnant with Danny. After he was born things never went back to what they'd been. I want another one, Megan said breastfeeding Danny one night. I only want 2 and I want them close together so they can be playmates and best friends. When are you planning on going off the pill? I did a week ago. Sorry. I meant to tell you, but things have been so crazy around here lately. So, you might already be pregnant? She looked a little squeamish. I might be, she said trying to avoid my eyes. I wish you'd talk to me before taking matters into your own hands. How about if I didn't want another one? Sorry, was all she said, now not meeting my eyes. I was pissed. Not because I didn't want another one, more so that Megan never talked to me about it in advance. I felt used. The next 2 weeks were more than a little tense. There was no lovemaking and I turned her down for it at least 6 times. First. When are you going to stop pouting? Mama needs some loving. You've got more than enough toys to get you off, was my angry reply. I don't want toys, I want you. I'll consider it only after you find out if you're pregnant or not. It only took 3 more days. A sullen Megan was waiting for me when I got home from work. I F up. Is that what you want me to say? I'm pregnant satisfied. I wasn't, but there wasn't anything I could do about it anymore. For once we didn't argue, we talked. I wasn't happy about the timing of it, but there wasn't much I could do about it now. I was going to be a father again. Robert was a big boy and Megan had a lot of trouble delivering him. She probably should have had him by cesarean. Never again, is all Megan said after she was put in a room. Hell, it was a month before she'd even let me come near her. The next couple of years were busy raising 2 boys, especially after Megan changed jobs. She was a nurse and her hour rotated every other month. It got so bad, I had to make an appointment to make love with wife. It took 2 more years before Megan's job stabilized and life became normal again. I felt like I'd lost 4 years of my marriage. Not really lost, more so struggled through. Love-making started again in earnest, and with me getting snipped, there would be no more surprises. We did it usually once during the week and twice on the weekends. I wanted more, but that's all we seemed to have time for. When Megan said that she and her group of coworkers were stopping for drinks after work on Friday, I wasn't happy about it at first. "Rick, if you also want to stop after work and join us, you're more than welcome." I stopped a couple of times, but it wasn't anything I wanted to do on an ongoing basis. I felt like the fifth wheel, as I was usually the only guy at a table of 6 to 8 women. What made me finally stop going was one Friday night we were all having a pretty good time. A few guys were asking more than one of the ladies to dance. Then a good-looking guy came over and asked me to dance. At first I thought he was kidding. He wasn't. "Your friend said you were gay and loved to dance." He pointed to the women, including my wife, on the dance floor. "Since it looks like we're the only gay ones here tonight, you want to dance?" I told him I wasn't, but for some reason he thought I was lying to him. Look, they're playing a sick joke on the two of us. I could see them having a good laugh at my expense. And if I would be honored to dance with a good-looking guy like yourself. And don't worry, they're going to pay dearly for this little stunt. He left and I planned my revenge. You know, there are a lot more lesbians and bi women than gay men in clubs. I didn't know that until I slipped the lead singer of the band $200 bills and told him to announce something every time they played a slow song. He smiled. This was going to be fun. "Sorry, Rick," Janice and my wife said when they came off the dance floor. "I wished you could have seen the look on your face when he asked you to dance. It was priceless." They both kept it up until the subject got old. Then I got my revenge. The lead singer did it for me. "We've got a special request for a slow dance from table 8, and guys, don't bother asking these ladies to dance because they don't swing that way, if you know what I mean." I went to their table as the lights dimmed and a spotlight shone on their table. Just like deer caught in a headlight, no one moved. Their eyes scanned the crowd looking for me, but I was long gone. "Rick, where the hell are you?" my bride asked, storming into the kitchen. I was sipping on a beer. "That was not nice." "Okay, you owed us one, but we did it in private. You singled us out to everyone." "What's the matter? Couldn't keep up with all the dance requests?" Very funny, she was now chuckling, trying not to laugh. Carol and Jan didn't catch what the singer said, and when a couple of women asked them to dance they thought nothing about it. That is until the ladies asked for more than a dance. I shouldn't laugh, but it was funny. I got lucky that night and most of the time on Friday nights when she got home. I had stopped going with them. Which bring me to Friday night 5 weeks later. Maybe I should have cut in and reclaimed my wife, or at least made an appearance at their table to let her know I'd been there tonight. I decided against either. I just watched and took 2 3-minute slow dance videos where they tried to F each other on the dance floor and then left. Megan tried to sneak in, it didn't work. I was sitting in the dark kitchen waiting for her to come in tonight. Instead of the usual 11 o'clock, it was almost 1 a.m. when tried to quietly tiptoe in. I hit the lights. Holy shit. "Rick, you scared the crap out of me. What are you doing up?" "I woke up at 11:30 and when I saw you weren't home yet, I got worried. I tried to call you twice but it went straight to voicemail. Where the hell have you been?" "A couple of the girls wanted to stop at Denny's for breakfast." "At this hour?" "Rick, it's Friday night. No one works on Saturday." "Well, it would have been nice to know in advance. You have fun tonight?" "It was all right. I just need to grab a shower and go to bed." "You want company?" I saw the look and didn't like what I saw. "I'm too tired to fool around tonight. I'll make it up to you tomorrow." She didn't and I wondered why. Our life went back to what it had been for the last few years. If I wanted it, I had to ask. Megan still had her Friday nights out, but there were no more hot sweaty sessions when she got home. I wasn't going to waste my money on a PI, I'd need every penny if I ended up divorcing her sorry ass if she was cheating on me. On Fridays I went home, fed the boys, got a sitter and went looking for my wife. The group had branched out to more than one club and some nights it took me a while to find her. Was she still dancing with that same guy? Yes and no. Sometimes there were 2 of them sharing her time. More than once I took a video of what she was doing, but I never saw her sneaking out to her or his car, so I wasn't sure how far they'd gone. I was done F around. When Megan finally came home tonight, she saw that the television was on and walked into the living room to turn it off. She put her hand to her mouth and crumbled to the carpet. I downloaded all the footage I'd taken over the last few weeks onto a disc and looped all the footage. The 28 minutes of video would keep playing and replaying until the DVD player was turned off. Me? I was in bed, with the bedroom door closed and locked. Was I asleep? Not a chance in hell. I was waiting for what I knew would come next. About 2 o'clock I heard a tapping on my door. Seconds earlier I'd heard her unsuccessfully try the knob. "Honey, please let me in. Honey, please," she said again. I said nothing. Megan finally stopped 20 minutes later. Did I get any sleep? Not sure. I might have dozed off a couple of times, but I wasn't sure. I showered and went downstairs just after 7 o'clock. The kitchen was quiet. Then I saw her. She was asleep on the couch. The television was off. I made coffee and put out cereal, milk, and bowls for my boys who no doubt would be up soon. I wasn't quiet, but she never moved a muscle. I was having a cup of coffee when she finally opened her eyes. They were still red and puffy. She must have seen the tape. She got up and sat down next to me. She started to say something, but I stopped her. "Go upstairs and take a shower because you stink. Get yourself cleaned up because our boys will be up shortly. We'll talk later." It looks like she wanted to say something but didn't and headed for the stairs. The boys were wild as usual. They ate, watched a few things on television and then settled in with their PlayStation. They were good for probably 3 hours. When Megan didn't come downstairs, I went looking for her. I found her sitting on the bed. She hadn't even showered yet. I F up, didn't I? Her eyes met mine. Believe it or not, I haven't slept with anyone. Rick, you have to believe that. But, you've done things you shouldn't have. Her eyes lowered. "I'm sorry," she said. "It was so wildly wicked and I got caught up in it all. I'm so ashamed." "The only reason you're sorry is because you got caught." "What was next? A three-way? Or have you already done that?" "I've already told you, I didn't sleep with anyone." "Megan, why am I having a hard time believing you? Hell, you and Pretty Boy were almost doing it right there on the dance floor the first night I caught you. Now I see why you were so hot to trot when you came home to your ordinary husband. Must have been a real letdown giving up what you'd had all night. Don't worry, I won't be bothering you anymore." "Rick, it was just flirting." "For Christ's sakes, Megan, I was there. Do you want me to play the DVD again for you? Maybe we can watch it together and you can explain to me what wasn't going on." The venom was pouring out of my mouth. "Just take a shower because eventually the boys are going to want lunch. There are some things that still need to be done even if you and I stopped." What were we now? I didn't have a clue. It was still too raw, and if she pushed me right now, Megan wouldn't like what I'd say to her. I walked out of the bedroom. There were things I needed to do, and forgiving Megan right now wasn't one of them. When Megan finally came home tonight, she saw that the television was on and walked into the living room to turn it off. She put her hand to her mouth and crumbled to the carpet. I downloaded all the footage I'd taken over the last few weeks onto a disc and looped all the footage. The 28 minutes of video would keep playing and replaying until the DVD player was turned off. Me? I was in bed, with the bedroom door closed and locked. Was I asleep? Not a chance in hell. I was waiting for what I knew would come next. Megan came down freshly showered and casually dressed about 45 minutes later. The boys had already finished breakfast and were watching television in the living room. There is still coffee left and French toast in the oven on low. I'm really not hungry. Well, eat it anyway. I'm not going to throw out good food just because you feel guilty. She didn't respond. Just got a plate from the cupboard and grabbed what was left. While she ate, I sipped on my coffee trying to figure out my next move. Saturdays were my busy days and I didn't want to get into it with her with my boys around. What did you do with the DVD? I asked, suddenly thinking about my boys in the other room. I hope you didn't leave it in the player. I'm not that stupid. I took it out and destroyed it. I never thought you were a stupid woman before, but now I'm starting to have doubts, I replied. Look, I may have pushed the envelope a couple of times, but I never screwed anyone or even came close. It was nothing more than harmless flirting. I had a bet with Janet I could get those guys all hot and bothered and have them buy us drinks all night. And, you can see from the tape, it worked. Why didn't Janet do the flirting? You've seen Janet. I'm surprised she can get her husband aroused enough to F her. I didn't spend a dime on drinks and made $20 to boot. You know what they call women like that? Teasers. I've met my share in my life and I considered them lower than whale shit. In my opinion, you've hit a new low. Rick, on the tapes it looks a lot worse than what actually happened. In whose opinion? If you'd seen me doing what you did, you'd be okay with it? If it was just some innocent flirting, no harm, no foul. I shook my head. I'm taking the boys with me to Home Depot and Publix. I'll be gone no more than 2 hours. During that time I want you to think long and hard about what you did and where you think this marriage is going, if anywhere. Megan started to say something, but I stopped her. I said, when I get home. I was physically shopping with my boys, but my mind was elsewhere. Was I somewhat to blame because I encouraged her to broaden her sexual horizons? Maybe it worked too well. I thought about her selection of topics. I could see the Big D tape, but not that with guys. Did she think I was bi-curious? Well, after what I did, I think she got my message. Megan wasn't home when I got back. Now where in the F did she go? I called her cell. She answered on the second ring. Where in the hell are you? I'm at Janet's and her, and I are talking. Are you home yet? Well, yeah. I'll be home in about an hour. Why don't we order in pizza so we can get dinner out of the way? This way we'll have more time to talk tonight. I said nothing. Rick, you still there? Yeah, I'm still here. I held in my anger. I want you home, in the house in an hour, understand? No problem. Rick, I do love only you. You have to believe that. Just get your ass home. I disconnected the call. I had a bad feeling about this. Like she promised, Megan was home by 3 o'clock. She came bounding in the door with a huge smile on her face. Not good. She came over, gave me a toe-curling kiss and said that she had a few things to do upstairs. Maybe those two women had told her what she'd done was over the top and she was totally in the wrong, but I didn't think so. If it was going to be another long night, I just knew it. I ordered pizza and a Greek salad. And by 5:30 we were eating. I looked around the table. Everything looked as it should, normal. While we cleaned up, the kids played video games. I could tell by the gunfire and explosions. I just hoped I wouldn't explode tonight. With the boys in bed and a glass of wine in my hand, I waited in the living room for Megan. She came in with 2 outfits on hangers. Now what? Before we start, I need your opinion on 2 outfits, she said, stripping right there in the living room. Megan. I started to say before she cut me off. Just go with me on this and I'll explain everything when I'm done. Okay? Fine, just hurry it up. The first outfit made me hard instantly. If it hadn't, I would have been dead. It was a floor-length silky black number, slit almost to her waist and was cut so low in the front that even if I didn't know what she had for breasts, this dress showed me. The second was a nice blue dress that stopped just below her knees, and it reminded me of something you'd wear to church or work. What do you think? About what? I was playing dumb. About my outfits? Which one did you like best on me? Since I know this is a trick question, I'll bite. I like the black one on you. It makes you look just enough that I'd want to F you without you even taking that dress completely off. See, you like it when I'm sexy and I like dressing that way for you. The blue dress is how sexy I was when you first met and married me. There is nothing wrong with the way you look in that blue dress, and I sure as hell wouldn't want you to dress like ass when I'm not with you. See, Rick, we can have both. I won't go back to being Miss Prissy. I hate her now. She was uptight and you yourself told me you wanted me more adventurous. With me, not some a-hole that thinks he can get in your pants. I was getting annoyed. That's the key point. He thinks he can but never will. I never even came close to giving up what's yours. I've been around enough to know what happens at those clubs. Guys go there to hook up with any woman who'll spread their legs for them. There is no way I'm going to throw my marriage away for a quick roll in the hay with one of those a-holes, no matter what he looks like. Or how F-hung they are? I added. That's why I needed to talk to Anne. Her husband Keith is hung, no question about that. I was and still am curious what it would be like to be stretched out by someone that well endowed. But Anne brought up one good point. After he's with her, she's sore for days. I wouldn't want that, but I can have my fantasies about experiencing it, can't I? Megan, I don't share. Never have, never will. I'm not asking you to. Look, guys see a busty girl in the mall and fall over themselves trying to grab a peek, that's all I'm doing. Why the tape? Did you really think that was going to turn me on? Okay, how about when we watched that tape with 2 women going at it? Did it do anything for me? Not at all, but I could see it in your eyes. You being with 2 women, even just watching would be a major turn on. Megan, let's cut to the chase and stop splitting hairs. Fair enough. I still want to experiment and experience all that's out there, but I want to do it with you or with your blessing. You need to believe I wouldn't cheat on you and that I love only you. Let me have my innocent fun, and in the process maybe I'll learn a few things that'll make our life even hotter. With that said, she sat on the couch next to me. We made out for the next 20 minutes before she slipped off the couch and ended up between my legs. Megan, stop. You're killing me. I don't know where you learned, but you're awful at it. I thought I saw tears. You're the only guy I've ever done it with. Don't you like what I'm doing? Talk about killing the mood. Give me your finger. How did that feel? Nice, she said, eyeing me warily. Now how about this? How about that? Not as nice, was it? Is that what I do feels like? I nodded. After that we took it slow and I showed her how I liked it done, and what she was doing right now felt heavenly. I loved the way her eyes locked on mine. She had learned well. Your turn, is all she said, slipping out of her blue dress. She was naked underneath. Tonight I'd show my wife a skillful tongue trumps AD any day. My method is simple, go slow and don't be squeamish. That was nice, she said, kissing me and then licking my lips. You know you taste just like me, she said, chuckling. I hugged and then kissed her. Megan, I love you so much. Rick, I mean, we can have it all. I don't want anyone but you, but do you trust me enough to let me explore what's out there? Let me think about it. Right now I'm not saying yes or no, but if you push me to make a decision now, you won't like my answer. The next week was almost normal. We acted like a happy, loving family, but it was only on the surface. Megan tried to seduce me every night, but I was adamant that she get checked out at the clinic. Rick, I didn't sleep with anyone. Why do I have to go to the clinic? Because if you don't, you can sleep on the couch and get yourself an attorney. I'm tired of arguing with you about this. You have 12 hours to comply or I'm filing. Your choice. Why is it that women think that just because they have what men want between their legs, they're in charge? Well, they're not, or at least she wasn't. Don't get me wrong, I knew that she hadn't slept with anyone, but I want her to feel embarrassed, walking into that damn clinic and asking to be checked out for VD. Maybe she'll know how I felt when she danced with those a-holes in clubs where people knew her and me. 5 days later she slipped a clean bill of health under my face as we ate dinner. The HIV tests take a lot longer, but I can guarantee you I'm clean. I looked at the sheet. Okay, at least now I know I won't have to use a thing. Tonight we talk, and if for some reason you don't like what I say, tough. Live with it or leave. Your choice. She didn't look none too happy. We didn't make love that night. I F her like a cheap WH. It had been almost 2 weeks and she must have liked it by the noises she was making. It was finally time to talk about moving forward. We need to make a few rules going forward. Rules for me or rules that apply to both of us, she asked. For both of us, I replied. They were simple and all basically boiled down to not doing anything you wouldn't do in front of your spouse. If you want an open marriage or sharing, fine. But you can do those things after we're divorced. But you said you'd let me experiment a little. And you can, but with me, no one else. Don't you trust me? She asked. Frankly, no I don't. I did it one time, but after seeing what you're like out there on your own, not anymore. Like I said, you can do what you want, just not being married to me. I don't think she was happy about it, but didn't want a divorce. We went back our lives post girls' nights out. We rented X-rated movies and experimented, and each of us got to plan a fantasy night once a month. She rebuilt my trust in her, and after 6 months I had no qualms letting her go out with her friends after work. Did I trust her totally? Not at first. But after following her the first couple of times I felt much better. Like before, now when Megan came home, I was waiting up. I was always glad girls' night was on Friday, because there was no way in hell I could have made it into work the following morning. I felt a little uneasy when Megan picked a movie the following month. Then I F up big time, not once but twice. Every year we looked forward to her yearly company picnic. All the children got great gifts and the food was to die for. What are they having this year? I asked. Pretty much the same as last year, but they've added a lobster appetizer and a raw oyster bar. Damn, we need to get there early before all the good stuff is gone. There had to be at least 350 people there this year. Like always there were tons of kids' games and even a few for the adults. I mingled, ate my fill and drank maybe a bit too much. Looks like Megan was going to have to drive home tonight, I thought. When the band started, I went looking for my wayward wife. I found her talking to a group just off the dance floor. Got your dancing shoes on, babes? I asked, giving her a sloppy kiss. Rick, are you drunk? Not drunk, just feeling pretty good. That's all. She looked a little pissed. I danced 3 straight dances with her and only bumped into a few people. Rick, you're making an ass out of yourself out there. Sit down, have some coffee and sober up. Yes sir, I said, saluting my wife. But, I could always get coffee at home, and with a full open bar, I went back to drinking the hard stuff. I woke up alone in my bed with a head-splitting hangover. I didn't have a clue how or when I got home last night. The last thing I remember was someone looking down at me and asking if I was all right. Guess I wasn't. I found Megan at the kitchen table eating breakfast with the kids. The look she gave me wasn't special. I know. I screwed up and I'm sorry. Megan said nothing. She just stared at me. I guess I didn't drive? Let's see. After failing to start a beer chugging contest, you proceeded to make an ass out on the dance floor by yourself. If that wasn't bad enough, you grabbed the backside of the office manager's wife, asking her if she wanted to fool around in the parking lot. The only redeeming thing was that you kept calling her Megan. She quietly asked me if you did this a lot. I didn't know what to say to her. A couple of my friends' husbands followed us home and carried you up to bed. I was so embarrassed I could have crawled under a rock and died. Rick, you really outdid yourself this year. Megan, I'm sorry. Monday I'll call your boss and apologize for my behavior. I'll even call the office manager's wife and apologize to her. Don't bother, I just want to forget this day ever happened. The following Friday Megan came home a little drunk. So began our tit for tat. Each one of us trying to outdo the other just like a couple of kids. Thank God neither one of us drove, or there probably would have been at least one death on the road. The only thing it did was to widen the gap between us. Shit, I said to myself as I slowly crawled out of the bed of some strange woman Saturday about 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have a clue who she was or where I was. Hell, I was in deep shit this time. Thank God I had my cell phone and my wallet. A cab took me back to the bar to get my car. At least mine wasn't the only car in the parking lot. I came up with a couple of good excuses, and they probably would have worked if not for a couple of people texting my wife and sending her a video or two of what I was doing the previous night. So, let's see how many rules you broke last night, she said as soon as I walked in the door. Getting drunk, dry humping too, make that 3 girls on the dance floor, and saying goodbye to everyone as you staggered out the door with some ugly ass. Care to see the videos? I shook my head no. I can only assume that you ended up in bed with her by the look on your face and how bad you smell. Megan, if I tell you that I don't remember a thing, would that make any difference? The look she gave me said not only no, but hell no. Let's see, what did you make me do when I danced too close with a strange guy? Oh, that's right. A full range of blood tests before you would even let me sleep in the same bed with you. She looked at her watch. You've only got 45 minutes before the clinic closes. You better get a move on it. She must have been a real gutteress, because I had 2 nasty STDs I needed to get treated for, and I wouldn't get the results back from the HIV test for a couple of months. I was F in more ways than I could count. Why is Dad sleeping on the sofa? My 2 sons asked. You want to tell them, or do you want me to? Daddy has a little cold and doesn't want Mommy to catch it. That's all. Damn right Mommy doesn't want to catch what Daddy has, Megan added. When I'd taken all the medicine to clear up the STDs, Megan finally kissed me but said we weren't doing anything until the HIV test results came back. I sure as hell don't want you giving me AIDS if you've got it. One of us needs to stay alive to raise our boys. I don't have AIDS. Yeah, just like you didn't have any STDs. On Friday I'd had enough. I'm sleeping in my own damn bed, I told Megan when she asked where I was going. Well, don't think this means you're going to be getting any tonight. I wouldn't think of asking. In fact, when I finally get the all clear, I don't plan on staying here any longer. I never thought you were such an unsympathetic bee. Look who's talking. After what you put me through for just dancing with a guy at a club, I should have divorced your ass for cheating on me. It doesn't count as cheating if you have no recollection of it. I spit back at her. Well, if you want to see the sweet cheeks you cheated on me with, just ask. I've saved the video. Words like B, a hole, cheater, D-head, and a lot of others were thrown back and forth over the next 20 minutes before I said I didn't need this shit and walked out. The last word I heard was loser as I shut the front door. I'll show her, were the words that finally sunk the ship. Megan tried for 3 days to talk to me, but I never picked up. Rick, pick up, this is getting totally out of hand and the boys are asking about you. I was feeling pretty superior until a man in a nice suit handed me a manila envelope at work. All he said was, "You've been served." Megan beat me to the bank and canceled all our joint credit cards. I had a Visa in my name, but that wasn't going to be enough. I tried to call her, but she'd changed her cell number. I called her mother. I'm sorry Rick, I'm not getting in the middle of this. You two are acting like 5-year-olds and I want nothing to do with either of you. I headed for home. The policeman was nice but firm. Sir, have you read the paperwork? I glanced at it, but no, I haven't had the time to read through it all, I replied. Well, when you do, you'll see there is a restraining order on you. You are not allowed within 250 feet of this house, Megan, or your children. You've got to be shitting me. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, or I will arrest you. Fuck. Now I was pissed. I went to my motel room and read all 15 pages. I was F. The Megan wanted it all: house, bank account, my 401k, alimony and a bundle of child support. The next day I walked out of work with a check for my 401k less the tax for early withdrawal. Forget a lawyer, I called the clerk of the court and asked for permission to get into my house to get my stuff. It took 2 days, but I finally got permission. I bagged everything including my tools, and just before leaving, I yanked off my wedding ring, taking a bit of skin with it, and put it on the counter along with my cell phone. Wouldn't need either any longer. What started off as me wanting Megan to be more adventurous in bed was ending in divorce. I thought about telling her I was sorry, but the word sorry wasn't going to cut it any longer. Some other guy was going to eventually enjoy in bed what she'd taken the time to learn. My mother was pissed at both of us. Knee-jerk reactions, that's all this is about. She screwed up, you screwed up, and now the kids are the ones that are going to pay. Why don't the two of you sit down like 2 adults and work this out? I hear there are a lot of good counselors out there. Why throw away 11 years over something stupid? Too late. She wants it all and me gone, and frankly I'm tired of fighting. Tell my boys I love them and will drop them a line when I can. With that said, I filled up my truck and headed south. Anything from Minnesota was south. I figured I'd drive until I ran out of land.